1.
Hey, what's up YouTube? Today we'll be learning about some fascinating techniques, so if you want to learn more, stay tuned. 3-point lighting is the standard lighting technique used with interviews. It has the power to transform an otherwise boring and flat image into a dynamic, interesting image with a subject that pops. The goal of 3-point lighting is to create the illusion of three-dimensional subject in a two-dimensional image. While you can create dimension a number of different ways, 3-point lighting is the lighting technique most commonly used.
And
What
three,
are the 3-point
two,
lighting we're
one.
talking about? The key light, the fill light, and the backlight. The key light is the main light used on your subject. The fill light is the purpose of this light is to fill in the shadows created by the key light, preventing them from getting too dark. The backlight is used to separate the subject from the background.
Action.
Typically, you may want to place the key light first because it's the main one, and you use the rest of the lights to support the key light. The purpose of this key light is to put the light on the subject. You can place
Stand
it
by.
anywhere you want, but
3,
a
2,
common placement
1,
is about
action.
45 degrees to either side
Pretend
of
like
the
you're
camera
doing something.
and about 45 degrees
No,
up from
Sierra.
the subject. Which side of the camera should you place it on depends on the look you are going for. To create a standard
Marcella, you need to
look,
look between the
whichever way
light
the
and-
subject is facing in the frame, put the key light
That's good
on the
enough.
subject
Stand
of the
by.
camera. You can get as creative as you want with this. Try placing the key light at different angles and elevation.
Action.
You can put the key light off to the side of the subject, nearly straight on
Stand
out
by.
to the side,
3,
and illuminate
2,
only half of their
1.
face. This is called side lighting
Action.
because, well, they're lit from the side. If you're shooting a film, you might use side lighting to symbolically represent the conflict the character is feeling. You could
And
also
3,
try placing the
2,
key light at a high
1,
elevation,
1,
angled
2,
higher above
3,
your subject's
4.
head but pointing down toward your subject. This placement
Stand by.
would create
3,
deep
2,
shadows
1,
in
action.
their eye sockets, but it usually is undesirable look. But if you are trying to make the subject look sinister for some reason, you might like this technique. Another frequent placement for a key light is behind the subject. This places the entire subject in shadow, which we commonly call a silhouette. You can intentionally use this look to create a dramatic image to keep the subject anonymous, or to de-emphasize the subject for whatever reason. Finally, another common placement, and the most boring, is right in front of the subject. This light might be directly above the camera, pointing toward the subject. This is called flat video lighting. It appears to widen the face, fills in shadows caused by wrinkles, and is the least dramatic style of lighting. This kind of lighting is sometimes called glamour lighting, because on models it can enhance the look of their face. When you turn on the key light, and nothing else, you might find the overall look of the image is too dramatic and high contrast. There might be too many deep shadows. That's where the fill light comes in. The purpose of the fill light is simply to fill in the shadows caused by the key light. Place the fill light on the opposite side of the camera from the key light. One thing to be cautious about, the fill light should not create a second
3,
shadow.
2,
If
1.
you see two shadows, that means the fill light is too powerful and needs to be reduced. You can reduce the light a number of different ways. Some lights can be dimmed, but it's more common that you need to either move the light further from the subject or put scrims or diffusion material over the light.
Like go through.
You can also remove some bulbs or change the bulb to a less powerful one.
3.
Scrims are designed
2,
to reduce the light without softening it. They basically look like a net
3,
made out
2,
of metal.
1.
You can also use neutral density gels to reduce light. These gels are semi-transparent gray sheets that you can put over the light to reduce the light without changing its color.
Cut in 3.
You don't
2,
have to
1.
use a separate light as a fill light. You can simply use something
that, go on,
reflects
bring it
light from the
down.
key light
Bring it
and
down
then
here.
bounces
Bring
the
it
light
down.
back towards the subject and into the shadows. This reduces the shadow's darkness and creates the same effect as a fill light. Common tools for this are reflectors and white foam core boards, but really you could use any reflective material as a fill light. Just want to make sure that it doesn't introduce any color into the shadow and it doesn't reflect too much light. It's hard to go wrong with a fill light. Use it to fill in the shadows a little or a lot, depending on the look you are going for.
3, 2,
Last in our
1.
lineup is the backlight. Blacklights you got to love the glowing rim they create around the hair and shoulders of the subject. Many argue against using them because in real life people don't walk around with glowing halo around their heads and shoulders. To create a backlight, put a light behind your subject using a suspended above their head and behind them so it points about 45 degrees down toward their hair and back.
3, 2.
Using barn
1.
doors on this light can be extremely helpful, so you can control the direction of the light and prevent it from accidentally spraying light in the camera lens. The only place you want this light is on the head, neck, and shoulders of the subject.
Perfect.
2,
4-point lighting.
1.
4-point lighting is at the root of most lighting setups for digital video or motion film. 3-point lighting is often discussed, especially as it relates to video interview setups, and is a very common way of presenting lights. And in a sense, 4-point lighting stems from similar principles. Though the names can be semantics, 4-point lighting is often considered to have slightly different purposes than 3-point lighting, and the exact positions and realities of the light you do use may be somewhat different. What 4-point lighting and 3-point lighting share in common is their basic lighting triangle. All three of them will employ a main light source called the key. The opposing light that also comes from the front will be the fill. 4-point lighting will be a little looser with this, mainly because 4-point lighting is more responsive to the needs of dramatic narrative scenes. Both 3-point lighting and 4-point lighting will employ a backlight to hit the subject's head. The main light that differentiates a proper 4-point lighting setup and a 3-point lighting setup is the background light. The background light is intended to give depth to the image by putting some mixture of light and shadow on the wall behind the subject or subjects, making sure that there is several feet between the subject and the wall. Give the light
go
that you
through
are
them.
using an
Okay, so this is the red
intermediary
one.
to ultra.
You're not really talking there.
A conventional use of this process is to have the background light from the 4-point lighting setup
Do you want to do the
through a window,
3?
so that a graphic of the window pane will be blasted onto the wall behind the subject. You can also try to use different nets, gels, or scrims to alter the
You guys want more
background image.
green?
4-point lighting essentially sets up a square approach, yet it tries to remain free and responsive to movement and changes. 4-point lighting is supposed to be the practical basis for most narrative film lighting, so you have the option to change it. There is no set rule for how 4-point lighting must be set up, so you are going to have to adjust and readjust until you find what fits. Just like everything in video, the more you practice 3 and 4-point lighting, the more you'll learn how to use them, and the more fun you'll have experimenting.
Thank you
2,
for watching.
1.